Good evening. Today we're going to be discussing what happened after the end of the revolution. So, really, it was a massive fucking shit show. With many different groups being pissed off about various things happening with this new United States of America. So for the Revolutionary Army officers, they're fucking pissed because nobody fucking paid them for shooting up bitches. And they're like, what the fuck? We gotta do some rebellions here of ourselves. Get that coup d'etat going, military government. Yeah. And then George Washington just like calls up a meeting and goes like, bitch, back the fuck down. And so they did. And then some more people were pissed off, like, poor white farmers. Shays Rebellion popping up because farmers can't pay taxes, shutting down courts, shutting down debtors' prisons, and Massachusetts not really being able to do all too much. With eventually a huge militia, and also apparently George Washington himself coming over to, shut that shit down real fast. So, yeah. Although, one good thing that happened was for all them people moving west, we got that Northwest Ordinance and the Land Ordinance setting up how lands to the west would be set up. With slavery prohibited, a grid system, setting aside public school land. It's pretty cool, and it also settled all the stupid-ass land disputes all the states got with each other. So that's like the major one thing that they did right with the Articles of Confederation. And then they also kind of throughout this entire time they're being fucked over by slaves, right? Because they don't got a standing army, and so Indians. I think I said that wrong. They're getting fucked over by the Indians because they don't got a standing army, right? So motherfucking Indians coming in, shooting up bitches, saying get the fuck out, and the Americans like no, and he's like, what you gonna do, bitch? And we're like, I don't know, like raise an army or something, but you can't, so fucking sucks. Yeah. And that didn't really stop until we could actually get a standing army. So sucks. Oh yeah, and throughout this whole freedom and liberty kind of thing, all slaves be thinking like, the fuck you fucking talking about, bitch? I'm still slaving for your ass. And so, some of the American leaders are kind of like, yeah, I kind of feel bad about this. And then there's like, I don't give a shit, I'm gonna be a hypocrite. And then, the North would eventually start freeing slaves while the South would increase slavery, setting up shit for that civil war about 100 years down the line. And then for women, there's that famous Abigail Adams letter that was just like, bitch, you ain't gonna give on the power to the man. And John Adams is like, yeah, you're fucking joking. But she wasn't. But of course, it's like 1700, so women's rights isn't much of a thing. Although there is the Vindication of Rights of Women, written by Mary Wollstonecraft. And then there's this kind of weird thing called Republican Motherhood that arose from the fact that women kind of took care of everything while the men were out fighting. And also discussions like, hey, I'm not just gonna sit home and be your bitch. So it's kind of an in-between me of I'm gonna stay home and just do whatever, and actually fully independent person. It was called Republican Motherhood, where they would basically try to shape the nation from the home or whatever, and they would have an education, just a different one. And so it's just kind of fucking weird, but it's not what it was before. It's progress. It's something. A little bit. And now for everybody who's a Hamilton fanatic or and otherwise very large Constitution enthusiast, you can now turn off this video. Have fun. Enjoy your shit. Just go study for something else. But for the rest of us, we're going to talk about what led to the creation of the grand United States Constitution. For one thing, the Articles of Confederation were a piece of shit that should have never been born. When, can't raise taxes, can't have an army, can't defend yourself. There's no money. There's no money, right? There's no money, there's no art, and without money you can't get an army, can't get a navy, can't do anything. And so, first there's this Annapolis convention where 5 states sent delegates to be like, hey, what are we going to do? We got to deal with the problem that states are putting tariffs against each other, making us weaker. And then the delegates basically went like, well, can't fucking do anything. There's only 5 of us, or 5 states of us here. So it's like, damn. But then this one cool guy named Alexander Hamilton went like, hey, let's get a convention together. And we're gonna get together. We're gonna solve all the Articles' problems. It's not gonna be a new thing. We're just gonna solve and adapt the Articles to something better, And so this led up to the Congress getting everybody together to get this Constitutional Convention of 1787, where Hamilton and James Madison and some others went like, ha! Trolled, bitch! We're writing a constitution! And like, delegates are like, what the fuck? What are we doing here? And they're like, you're writing a new constitution, bitch. Sucks. We have to do this. So, they did. And they're like, okay, so how are we going to do this now that you kind of dragged us and trapped us here into doing this stupid shit? And so the first plan was the Virginia plan, where there'd be a Congress, and there'd be 2 houses with members elected based on population, giving all the large states power, which the little states didn't fucking like. And it also introduced the legislative, executive, and judiciary branches, which is pretty cool. Separation of powers and shit, right? And they're also proposing the federalism system, which you got national and state governments with real power, but they got their own kind of areas of influence, right? It's pretty cool. And so all little states be like, what the fuck? I don't want proportional representation, asshole. Then you're gonna have all the power. I can't do jack shit. And so, New Jersey's William Patterson made up the New Jersey Plan, where they went like, okay, we'll have equal representation between everybody. And then finally, a guy named Roger Sherman from Connecticut went like, no, we're gonna have a great compromise with this Connecticut Plan, where we have 2 houses, one of them with the proportional representation, and one of them with the equal representation. See, that's using your motherfucking head, boys. What up? And so it wasn't really easy to do that because both sides went like, but I want mine more. But eventually they did. We have a House of Reps and Senate now, right? And also, everybody thought at that time that all the fucking colonists are stupid. We're not going to let them elect the president by popular vote, which is, pretty true. All the colonists were stupid. So they went like, so how the fuck are we going to do this? And eventually someone is like, got it. Electoral college. We get states to get electors to get presidents. That's how we do this. And they're like, yeah, that works. And also, there's that problem of like slavery and the North not liking slavery and the South depending on slavery. And so they're like, and the South's like, yeah, totally, they all count as people. They're just also property. And then North's just like, bitch, you're not getting votes that easily. And so they argued and they argued and they argued. And then eventually made up a 3/5 clause where every person counts as 3/5 of a person if they're a slave. And like, they're also like, this is kind of bullshit. And so I was like, this is the only way you're gonna get this constitution, motherfucker. You ain't gonna cut out slavery. And so it's like, rest in peace, what you gonna do, right? And eventually, they all got together, they signed a document, and boom, we got the first draft of the Constitution. But no Bill of Rights, not yet, because they're tired. They don't want to do anything else. They just kind of left it. Eventually, you got Federalists and Anti-Federalists getting together to argue about, hey, do we have a constitution or not? And the Federalists like, yeah, we should. We gotta get a better government. And Anti-Federalists like, no, we shouldn't. Where's the Bill of Rights? How are we going to defend our rights and guarantee they're not going to be trampled or anything? And so, we're gonna go state by state. So we got Pennsylvania coming in, being like, who? I don't know. Do we do this? Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania, that's the place where they wrote it. So like, if we do this first, maybe we'll be cooler. But no, Delaware did it first after like 5 days of discussion, because they're like, I don't give a fuck. This is cool. New Jersey. He who went like, hey, so the tariff's gonna be paid to the federal government instead of New York? Count me in. Easy. Georgia's like, I kind of want an army to stop the Indian raids, and so easy. And then there's Connecticut, which was just Federalist, so easy. But then you got harder ones with Massachusetts, with that old Chase Rebellion being like, why do I want a bigger government? Like, what the fuck? Why would we do this? In the end, they went like, okay, you have to do this immediately. You have to add a Bill of Rights, and then New Hampshire just didn't want to, and Rhode Island, since they didn't attend the Constitutional Convention, just didn't. Maryland went like, bitch, you gotta get a Bill of Rights up in this bitch. And South Carolina did it as well. Now, with being like, you gotta guarantee the rights of the states, bitch. Then Virginia was just like, I don't know. Like, you don't got Bill of Rights, so I don't think I should. But in the end, they did. And they're like, get a Bill of Rights, asshole. And finally, New York went like, give me a Bill of Rights, asshole. And so, North Carolina and Rhode Island basically went like, yeah, fine, after everyone else was like, this is the government now, you're going to deal with it. So, yeah. And then they made a Bill of Rights at some point. I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't mention it in this chapter. Oh, it's in the next chapter. But they ratified. Everybody ratified it in the end. And now we went from a shitty article, Confederation, that pissed off most everybody, to the Constitution, which we're going to see in the next chapter. It's going to be some cool ass shit. Good night.